Welcome to the NFL Player Props Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by TheLines.com. Coming to you from scattered all over the world right now, Josh Lander, joined by my guys, Mo Nawara, he's in the Midwest, Nate Weitzer on the East Coast, and we are looking at Week 10, gentlemen, in the NFL, right? I keep getting these mixed up, but yep, we're looking at the 10th week here. Obviously, we already have a Thursday night game in the books. Nice win by the Panthers. We're going to be bringing you the props that we like to bring you each and every week during this NFL regular season, a passing, a rushing, and a receiving prop from each of us. Go ahead and make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Follow along with us as we continue this NFL season with you guys. Also head to TheLines.com. That's where you can go ahead and get all the great written content from Mo and Nate and the gang, as well as use our odds finder tool to go ahead and make sure you're shopping those lines to the best of your ability across U.S. sportsbooks. Let's go ahead and jump into our first set of passing props here, gentlemen. Nate, why don't you kick us off with what you like?
Well, we were on Justin Fields the last couple weeks, and that paid off, and now his props are up. But I think what you can do is continue to target the Bears in shootouts. Total of 48.5 with them hosting the Lions here. The Lions offense never got on track or never had to do anything because Aaron Rodgers kept gifting them interceptions last week. So Jared Goff had 137. Prior to that, he had topped his passing prop this week, 223 in 6 straight. And that's even with them getting owned by the Patriots, owned by the Cowboys defense. Now the Bears defense ranks 30th DVOA pass defense, 7th in adjusted sack rate. In 2 games since they basically threw in the towel on that side of the ball, trading Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith, they've allowed 811 yards and 84 points to the Cowboys and Dolphins. So, I mean, and Goff at Soldier Field last year, I mean, he's not the greatest outdoor quarterback, but he passed for 299 and 2 touchdowns in a win at Soldier Field. Detroit's still gaining the 8th most passing yards, 8th most yards per pass, and Amon-Ra St. Brown should be cooking this 5th rounder Kindle Vildor, who gets to try to match up on the Sun God this week. So I like the Lions passing offense.
I looked pretty hard at this one too. I think it's a fine play. I know that nobody's going to be excited to bet a Jared Goff over, but it's like you said, I mean, these defenses are just so bad. And it's not just, that Jared Goff has a good matchup. It's, the Lions do tend to get themselves in shootouts as well. So I do lean towards the over here. I was looking at this one pretty hard, but didn't end up making it my play.
Yeah, I'm never going to argue with somebody trying to tell me that there's going to be some yards that are had in a game with the Lions, even if it is the Bears, which, as you mentioned, are continuing to give up those kind of yards. Mo, what's your passing prop today? I believe we're talking about Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, another quarterback nobody's going to be excited to take the over on, but I think that's why there might be a little bit of value on Russell Wilson over 225.5. Facing the Titans here on the road. The Titans, elite versus the run, 3rd in EPA per play allowed, 1st in success rate. And I don't think this Denver coaching staff is generally going to be that excited to run the ball right now. They only gave their running backs 23 carries last it's not last week, but last game. They're coming off the bye here. And that was, a 1-score game most of the way. So I don't think they're really looking to run the ball. I don't think they're going to have much success running the ball. But I like the Broncos in this game, plus 2.5, plus 3, money line, whatever you want to bet here. So that means I do think Russ is going to have some success here. He's averaging 242 yards per game, even in a down season that everyone knows about. Jags have a kind of a similarly constructed defense to the Titans. They're much stronger against the run than the pass, and he had 252 yards in that game. Only thing I'm really worried about is the Titans' pace here. They're very, very slow, 32nd in pace. I think some Malik Willis weeks might be playing into that. But I'm also loving what I see in the injury report here for the Titans. Multiple defenders out. I'm counting at least 6 starting defenders that have not logged a practice on Thursday. One of them is Jeffrey Simmons. He's the key to their defense. He's the best player they have. So I do think the Broncos are going to be able to move the ball here, win the game, and I think Russ is going to have a reasonable line, and reasonable should get him past 225.
Reasonable. Yeah. Everything you're saying is reasonable. I think there's probably a little bit of also, deflation in terms of that, the Titans and us recently coming off watching them, do everything they could to sort of slow down, obviously that KC offense, and that's part of the reason why they were going so slow in that one. And the only reason they really don't go slow is because Derrick Henry carves other teams up for 20 yards at a time, and they get the ball back on the other side, which could very well happen in this one as well in this game. So I'm going to close the passing props here with an under on a guy that I hate talking poorly about because Gino's been so wonderful to all of us who've been betting on the Seahawks this season. But under 241.5 for Gino playing in Germany against that Bucks defense, right? And so Seattle, they got that nice 4-game win streak, but they've been rushing the ball a ton as Kenneth Skywalker, as I believe Nate has dubbed him, has really come onto the scene and is a huge reason for that. I mean, they've got 31 pass attempts and 31 rush attempts, equal real balanced offense, obviously, in the last 4. Huge reason for that is the 22 carries a game that Kenneth Skywalker is now getting to the tune of about 5 yards a carry, 106 yards a game. So I think you continue, looking for that to be the game plan for Seattle in this one, as Tampa Bay's passing offense, top 5 or so in the league, helped tremendously, as we all know, by their ability to get to the quarterback, top 5 in a lot of those key sack percentage, QB hits, QB pressure, et cetera, et cetera. And they are allowing the 9th most rushing yards in the league, which is why teams are, close to the top 10 in terms of they're in the top 10, bottom 10, however you want to look at it, in terms of teams' attempts on them a game. So I think you can expect a lot more of that run offense for Seattle in this one. So under 241.5 or so for Gino.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a raucous environment in Munich. I believe they had 3 million ticket requests or something. Everybody wants to come out and see Tom Brady, and they're probably going to see a lot of incompletions and a surprisingly low scoring game between these teams, which doesn't speak well of the passing props. But so moving on to rushing props, and I mean, does Dameon Pierce have the most secure role in the NFL? The Texans are literally going to put it in his stomach 20 times a game, come hell or high water, and he's in a much better situation than last week when he got 139 against the Eagles when they were 14-point dogs. They're 5-point dogs here at the Giants, a Giants defense that has good, points per game allowed, and that's about it. I thought they had some talent on the defensive line, but they're 30th in RB yards, allowing the second highest yards per carry, and 27th in DVOA rush defense. And like I said, 19 and a half carries per game for Pierce since his opener, averaging 92 rushing yards per game. So his prop at 76 and a half rushing yards seems pretty comfortable to go over that in this matchup. I mean, though he's only Tennessee, I believe, has held him below his rushing prop this season. They are the best run defense if they have everybody. Like Mo just said, they might be missing some guys this week that will be key. But Pierce, he's done that against Tennessee, Denver, Philly in these matchups, and now he gets a Giants team that, they don't do much to stop the run either.
No, they don't, and unfortunately, that's what I've been having to deal with all season. It's also been a case of just them getting turnovers at that point. So I would agree with that. Mo, you were gonna jump in on Mr. Pierce.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because I actually looked at this one the other way. I wanted to love the under on Dameon Pierce, but when you look at, like you said, the Giants defense, it's just been terrible. Surprisingly, I was surprised how weak their numbers were against the run, especially when you look at the way this roster is constructed. The previous regime really built this defense to stop the run, and they profile as a team that should stop the run very well with Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams in the middle of the defense. But I guess they're just playing a lot of light boxes and trying to kind of lure teams into running the ball the way the Bills did. Maybe with Dayball over there. So maybe he's taking some of that strategy with him. So just a spot where I'm not excited to fire it either way, but I can't click the under with how bad the Giants have been and how often they give the ball to Pierce, like you were saying.
Yeah, and part of that for the Giants, having watched every one of these games, Dexter Lawrence is getting upfield at a ridiculous rate, which is wonderful against the pass. Probably just running right by these running backs, to be honest with you, at sort of an Aaron Donald level that he's breaking through lines in the pass rush, just not quite the same for that defense against the ground game there. So let's go with an under though for a rush here, Mo, and I believe we're talking about Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, another high total here with Josh Jacobs. It's sitting at 86.5, I think, but I went with under 83.5 and not having to pay minus 145 or whatever that was. The Colts do have a very tough run defense here. Top 5 by rush EPA, top 5 by rush defense DVOA. Also, same as Pierce, averaging 92 yards per game. We know he's been awesome this year. But then you look at the opposing defenses he's faced. He's faced a very easy slate of opposing run defenses during this run where he has ran up these high totals. Kansas City, Houston, these are teams you can run over at times. When he did face tougher run defenses, Tennessee, New Orleans, Jacksonville, those are the 3 toughest run defenses he's faced. He had an average of around like 60 yards, nothing higher than 67 in these games. I like the way the Colts profile here on defense against him. They tackle very well. PFF number 2 in tackling. Raiders have a poor run blocking unit. Also by PFF's grades, they are 6th worst. And I'm also not as sure as the market that the Raiders are going to be in a positive script. I kind of like the Colts here, taking the points and expecting this to be maybe a little bit of a closer game where they're not going to be killing the clock, handing to Jacobs a million times up 14.
No, they're not. Even if they are up and they do give the ball to Jacobs, they're still likely to blow a lead as just they did last week and have done so many times this season. So, yeah, until I see them able to hold on to the ball and run out some clock, I'm not going to believe in it. And they've even had to change the script a bit in the last couple of weeks and thrown a bit more, whereas they had a nice little streak there where they were running a lot more. I don't know. Josh McDaniels needs a lot of help. But I'm going to finish rushing here, guys, talking about Kareem Hunt. There was talk about him obviously potentially getting moved, but they held him through that trade deadline. So they keep that 2-headed monster there in Cleveland. Hunt, you can look at him. I think we kind of like the idea of him getting some receiving yards. You could take his rush and receiving at 49.5, his receiving yards at just 13.5. I might be cheating a little bit by putting him in here, but he's a running back. The thought process here is one, they're going to continue to feed him the ball, right? They kept him for a reason. He's going to continue to get close to the 50% snap share that we've seen him get this season. That was at least the proof last week in that game plan where they beat the Bengals, right? And they came through with him having 11 touches there in the run game, and then a few, I believe 4 targets, caught all 4 of them as well for 30 yards receiving there in that game as well. Got well over that against the Bengals. In this one against the Dolphins, I think we can like another little shootout, like really with the Dolphins and Tua in there and their inability, how good they really are against the run compared at least to how bad they are against the pass. It makes you feel like there's some shootout potential for this game. And we've got another, 60-point total that we could be looking at in a game that features this Dolphins team. So,
yeah, interesting that Nick Chubb, I think his prop opened at 84.5 rushing yards, and it's now down to 78.5. So as people dig into those numbers, I think they realize Miami can stop a traditional rushing attack between the tackles. And so Cleveland's probably going to get creative. They're going to use Hunt more on pitches and outside runs and in the screen game as an extension of that run. So that's why I like him for receiving yards and as a bit of a DFS play here. I think, he'll continue to ramp up as they held him, and then they get the bye week to be like, all right, you're part of our plans, at least this year. Receiving props, I'm with Mo on Denver getting some passing yards here in this matchup because Tennessee is so freaking good against the run, and Denver's so bad against the run. So that makes me like Greg Dulcich at just 39.5 yards or 3.5 receptions. He is seeing a very high route participation for a tight end, 75%, and averaging 60 yards per game in 3 since coming off the IR here. In their game before the bye, he went up to an 82% snap rate, saw 114 air yards. Russ Wilson does love to loft it downfield to his tight ends, and this guy is a good downfield route runner. Tennessee allowing the 3rd most receiving yards per game to tight ends. Me and Mo might disagree on the spread and on the Titans in general. I know in the power rankings this week, he slotted them at 28th after they took the Chiefs to overtime in Kansas City and covered for a sixth straight game, and I am just on team Mike Vrabel and his squad covering come hell or high water because the NFL is full of incompetent coaches, and he is not one of them, and Nathaniel Hackett is. But I digress. Mo, please, your rebuttal on why Tennessee is 20.
Yeah, the Titans are terrible. Well, they're definitely terrible with Malik Willis, but they're definitely a respectable team when they have a reasonable professional quarterback. So I'll let it slide for now, since it looks like a professional quarterback might take the snaps again this week. Dolchich has been doing it, so I'm probably in support of this play. I haven't looked too deep into this one, but been impressed with what Dolchich has been doing. And yeah, I mean, obviously, because I feel like Russ is going to go over, I don't think this can be a bad play. But for me, I'm going with another unexciting passing offense and another unexciting over. So I don't know what Donovan Peoples-Jones has to do to get respect from anybody, including the betting market. This guy's been crushing it lately. Very nice 69.4 yards per game average over his past 5. Very nice. And now he gets a Miami defense that is surprisingly strong against the run, but they've been absolutely atrocious against opposing passing games. It doesn't matter which metric you look at. PFF hates their pass defense. DVOA hates their pass defense. EPA hates their pass defense. They all rate the Dolphins in the bottom 4. We know Miami's cornerback play has been terrible, mainly because of injuries. They have Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. They've gotten like half a season of hamstring-addled Xavier Howard play, so it hasn't been good. And like Josh was saying earlier, these Miami games have tended toward shootout mode. So on a beautiful floor today, no wind, very nice weather for passing. I don't know why his number is in the low 40s when he's just very easily putting up 50 plus basically every week. I think this is just a name recognition and team recognition thing where, he's just flying under the radar. This Browns passing offense that has actually been pretty efficient is flying under the radar, and we're just getting a great number here against a bad team.
Yeah.
Bad defense.
Well, a bad defense. Yeah, no, that's fair. A very, very, very good offense and a very currently, porous defense with the amount of holes that they're allowing in that passing game. So let me finish the week off here, gentlemen, by talking about Travis Kelce under 77.5 yards. Nate asked me if I felt sharp enough to take this one, as it's a pretty sharp play if you feel confident about it. I mean, look, his last 3 games, right? We've seen a couple of pretty nice performances, all of those going about 100 yards, just the 98 versus the Niners. But those 2 games were, the 2 games aside from the Niners were very close. And I would argue that Niners game was close until really the end of the third quarter when the Chiefs just pulled away. But I think that's part of the reason you start to think maybe there's an opportunity for regression. 77.5 does feel very high. They're playing Jacksonville, 9.5 point favorites. They definitely want to look to integrate Kadarius Toney in there, who's apparently one of the best route runners in the league. Although if you were a Giants fan, you would have no idea. And look to utilize all 3 of their running backs, right? At this point, they're making it clear that it's really going to be about a 33% snap share for all those guys as they finally get Pacheco into the game a bit more when they know they're going to rush. So, there is a few other weapons out there. The Jags, if you care, they play the tight end to the tune of, maybe the top 2 or 3 best defenses in the league. They allow the 3rd least receptions, the 3rd fewest, I believe top 5 in terms of fewest yards to tight ends as well. And he's been limited in his career versus Jacksonville because of the way that they've sort of, constructed their offense to have some super athletic linebackers like they've had for a few years now. 5 receptions, 3 receptions. That's his stat line against the Jags the last 3 games that he's played against them. So I think there's some real reason and confidence that you should feel in going under for Travis Kelce if you have the balls for it.
Yeah, I don't understand how he gets open as often as he does, probably because Andy Reid is a mastermind. Other teams should be just absolutely bracketing him every time. Jacksonville's shown a willingness to do that, and they have much better coverage linebackers than corners. Their corners are pretty awful, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs get more production from the wide receiver. And if they just throttle down after Patrick Mahomes threw a franchise record 58 passes last time out, and try to just win this game with a little bit more of a grounded approach.
That is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Plenty to look forward to here in week 10. Some exciting matchups. We've got all of these props in here for you. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us each and every weekday of the regular season here in the NFL. And until we see you next, happy betting.